Well, thank you all for coming. Well, of course, the first thing I have to do is to thank my great wife, Karen, for the fact that she has endured my political career and also, of course, accentuated it. There's nobody like Karen. She's charismatic. She walks into a room, and people fall in love with her. You know, when she appeared on Anderson Cooper, John Weaver commented, and Beth Hansen commented that if we'd only run Karen, we would have been a lot more successful. I happen to agree with that. And, God, you know, Emma and Reese showed up, and I mean, they're unbelievable. They're just so beautiful, and they've been so supportive. And they've traveled with me around the country as well, and it was always such a delight to have the family on the road. And as their principal had said, don't let education get in the way of learning. And I think that they learned a great deal. And of course, I want to thank the Worthington Christian staff, and particularly Buzz Imboden, for their patience and willingness to kind of look after our family. It was terrific. Our staff, nobody has ever done more with less in the history of politics than what this staff has done. I mean, it's kind of always been this way. It's been a mystery to me, other than to say that I like to think that they think that they've been part of something bigger than themselves. And we all want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. And I think we do it with honesty and integrity. And as a result, I think I know, and I sure hope and pray that they feel that this experience that they have had in this campaign has improved and in some way changed their lives for the better. And so I'm looking forward to being able to spend more time with them. The volunteers, just amazing. I don't know how many, 800 people we had. Is it 800 people that went to New Hampshire? People who went to Michigan, people were in South Carolina. I mean, I would show up places and there were like people I knew, and I'm like, why are you here? And but they were believers, and I could never thank them enough for the long car rides, and in the snows of New Hampshire, they knocked on doors, and in the rain of South Carolina, they knocked on doors. They really gave of themselves. My mother used to always say, never forget the volunteers, Johnny. And they were always the ones that have given me the octane, the fuel to be able to carry out my purpose. And I want to thank the people who gave the money, the financial resources. We never had all the money we wanted. We were probably outspent by 50 to 1. But we were never, ever daunted in that. And we just got up every day and did the best we can. And of course, a big thank you goes to Beth Hansen, who was the campaign manager and did everything that she could possibly do. Oh, and my dear, dear friend, Doug Price, who well, we start getting into these names, but as I mentioned, I think Emma said, well, Mr. Doug, didn't you travel with my daddy for like a year and a half? And Reese looked at him and said, how'd you ever do that? But we had a great time, and we're going to have a lot more fun in the future. And of course, the kitchen cabinet, I look at Joanne Davidson and Bob Klafke and Tim Trapepi, who the only guy I know that carried more luggage than an entire circus crew. I mean, it was just unbelievable. So, and I know I'm leaving some people out, but I want to thank every one of you. You know, I visited these beautiful, beautiful towns in New Hampshire. And people had really counted me out in New Hampshire, but when we hit our 100th town hall, it was remarkable, those beautiful towns. I will never forget the people of New Hampshire. We moved from New Hampshire, you know, in the far east, all the way to the excitement of California, even being able to sit in traffic in Los Angeles. It was a big part of, and I just love California and what it means to our country and the excitement that it breeds. Yeah, I remember we were in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Never knew where it was. Heard about it all my lifetime. I never knew it was actually located above Wisconsin. And we landed, and I remember everybody was looking at their phones, and I said, would you all please put down your phone, because this is a winter wonderland. This is magical, what we're seeing here, what the good Lord has given us. To the energy of Miami Beach, Florida, for one of the last debates, and you know, it was interesting. They didn't think I could make any debate, and I made all 13 of them. In fact, won a couple of them. As for my beloved Ohio, the people here, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate the opportunity that you've given me to be a leader in this state. The people of Ohio have given me the greatest professional experience of my lifetime. I've tried to pay them back, and last night in Cleveland, a woman, African-American woman, said, you made promises and you kept them. And that's why I'm here tonight, because I believe in you, that you brought our people together. Well, it only happened because the people gave me a chance. And everywhere I went in America, I told the people about our beautiful, beloved state and held Ohio high. And I think gave people an impression from one end of America to the other that Ohio is a special place. And I expect we're going to have more visits as a result. I marveled at my colleagues who held public office. They knocked on doors, they made phone calls. And I mean, these were people who came from the legislature. I mean, when you're an executive and you have to deal with the legislature, it's not always peaches and cream. But yet these legislators, the leaders, the Speaker of the House, the President of the Senate, some of my statewide colleagues like the Attorney General, just incredible that they would have come out and honored me. Frankly, I was so humbled by the fact that they came and they loved me. They encouraged me. The people of our country changed me. They changed me with the stories of their lives. Oh, we all remember that hug in South Carolina from that young man who had found despair and then found hope somehow, and he just wanted to give me a hug, and the country marveled. But you know, that was one of a series of these things that had happened. A gentleman showed up in New Hampshire. He said, I don't think I warned my son enough about the dangers of a certain type of cancer, and now he has it, and I'm blaming myself. And he put his arm around me and cried. And I said, sir, it's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. You're a great father. You come here all the way from New York to tell me about this. Take the load off of your shoulders. He wrote us a letter saying that little conversation made a difference with him. And when we went to New York, months later, standing at the rope line, was that man. He said, I want you to know my son's doing much better. And I wanted to be here to thank you for taking the time with me. We were in a hall in Michigan and a woman stood up and showed a picture of her son who had taken his life. We talked about faith, talked about her son and where he was, and everybody in that hall embraced that woman and made her feel that she was not alone. See, stories like this occurred all across our country. And I think it's, frankly, because for whatever reason, God gave me the grace to make people feel safe and comfortable. And they came to these town halls, they were absolutely magic. You know, I've learned something, folks, everyone here, that we all need to slow down our lives. Slow down our lives and listen to those who are around us. Look, let me be clear. We all know that economic growth is imperative to the success of our country. Economic growth gives people an opportunity to realize many of their hopes and dreams in life. And without a job, the family's weaker, the community's weaker, the neighborhood's weaker, the state suffers, and our country struggles. And I can tell you that economic growth can be achieved by our public officials if they just do their job. But they have to ignore polls. They can't focus on focus groups. And they have to overcome the fear of re-election or criticism. See, the formula is simple and it works. It is common sense regulations that don't crush our small businesses, because that's where our kids get their work now, increasingly. That's the fastest area of job growth. We know we need to lower taxes for individuals, and we have to cut taxes for our businesses so they start investing in America and not some country located in Europe. And we need a realistic path to balance the budget. And frankly, nothing more imperative than a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution to force the Congress to do their job. And we have to keep in mind that we need to shift power, money, and influence from government back to the people wherever we live. And we have to begin to run America again from the bottom up. However, the spirit, the essence of America, lies in the hearts and souls of us. You see, some miss this message. It wasn't sexy. It wasn't a great soundbite. But I saw a young lady. I saw a young lady in Philadelphia who came to me and said, "I'm a producer on a major cable show, and I watch your town halls and talk about the spirit of our country and my role." And she said, "You've affected my life." You see, I believe we all need to live a life bigger than ourselves. Yes, we need to live a life a little bit bigger than ourselves. We need to reach out to help lift someone else, because you know what? It comes to us naturally if we let it. You see, we are, as human beings, kind of hardwired to want to give someone else a lift, give someone else an opportunity. And when we reach out, it's so interesting, and when we reach out and help someone else, you see, what it does is it opens us, ourselves, to recognizing and receiving the help that we need in our lives. It's a virtuous circle. When we help someone else to rise, it opens us up to receive the things that we need in our lives, regardless of who we are. To paraphrase an old adage, I sought the greatness of America in her harbors and in her rivers, and I did not find it. I sought it in her fertile fields and boundless forests, and did not find it. I sought her greatness in her halls of Congress, and I did not find it. You see, after this campaign, I see it in us. When we come together, when we lift one another with our eyes on the horizon. Throughout my campaign, I have said the Lord may have another purpose for me. And it set all the pundits at Twitter. Does that mean he's not committed or he's not focused or he's not energetic? It showed to some degree how little they understand about life. You see, I have always said that the Lord has a purpose for me as he has for everyone. And as I suspend my campaign today, I have renewed faith, deeper faith, that the Lord will show me the way forward and fulfill the purpose of my life. Thank you, and God bless.
Wow, he was getting quite emotional up there, Kinsey. Guys, we are going to continue to bring you this live feed from the room where Kasich spoke until we lose that feed from Fox. We have a question on the screen. I know some of you have already tweeted me. Will the anti-Trump GOP finally support Donald Trump now that all the other GOP presidential candidates have dropped out?
Right, because keep in mind, both Cruz and Kasich right there took subtle jabs at Trump in their speeches suspending their campaign. What Kasich said right there was that he wanted to create an America that uplifts. He wants his message to be positive.
Right.
And they always say versus, and that versus is a direct jab at Trump. So I don't really think that they are throwing support behind the other candidate, and maybe it's just a little too, maybe they're a little too devastated at this point.
It's a little too soon. It's like a breakup. Oh, it looks like they've already cut to the White House, which we don't know who's living there come January. We're just watching. Let's go ahead and pull up John Kasich's Facebook page in the meantime.
We were talking about contradictions, and that's why we were going for the Facebook page. The contradiction of, you were the one that saw this.
Yeah,
his
so
message yesterday.
this morning on News Now, I kind of went through all the recent tweets from Ted Cruz, John Kasich, Donald Trump, and I noticed this one from John Kasich that said, the next move or moving forward or what's next, the next plan, something to that effect, guys. And it linked to his Facebook page, and it's basically this detailed note about what's next for their campaign. And this was posted 22 hours ago. This was posted at 4:16 p.m. Arizona time, so it was before Ted Cruz officially dropped out.
Wow.
But it was after the polls had closed. They had already announced Trump as the winner for Indiana. And in this note, literally 22 hours ago, John Kasich outlines his plan and details why they're not dropping out. And obviously something happened. I mean, yesterday you had the head of the Republican Party basically
acknowledge that Trump's their guy and they're going to rally behind him.
Exactly. So when you're starting to see all these tweets, I guess it's a little disheartening for John Kasich. So we have this post, what's next? Kinsey, if you want to read some of it.
Tonight's results are not going to alter Governor Kasich's campaign plans. Our strategy has been and continues to be one that involves winning the nomination at an open convention. And they were receiving so much criticism about that one statement yesterday on Twitter, on all of the cable news outlets, like, guys, get it together. This might not even happen, you know, with Cruz dropping out, this open convention. And that's one thing that I think Kasich and Cruz had ahead of Trump. They have people that are so well versed in old school politics, in ground game, and in how to outmaneuver, strategically outmaneuver politically. Trump is very mainstream. He utilized the mainstream media and social media to get his message out there. He made the phone calls to the morning shows. He did Barbara Walters.
He knew how to take advantage of media coverage and not having to just use paid advertisements. That's Trump's a smart businessman. And no one can deny that.
And he stresses the hundreds of thousands of dollars in negative ads that were spent on him versus a Kasich or versus a Cruz. I mean, how many people do you think are just sitting back going, wow, they're in every move in regards to Cruz and Kasich kind of backfired over the last few weeks.
Right. They first, decided to team up. They were like, you know what, Cruz, you're going to focus on Indiana. Kasich is going to focus on the western half of the country, specifically Oregon, New Mexico. We haven't even seen the Oregon and New Mexico primaries. I mean, that's where Kasich was focusing his energy, and now he's not going to see any results. He was talking about California up there when he was speaking, and it's just, I'm just wondering what happened in that Kasich camp to go from this letter about what's next, we're going to stay in it, to what we just saw where he said he was going to drop out. I mean,
did Cruz suspending his campaign throw a huge wrench in their plans?
that's a good question. I mean, let's just go through some of these bullet points. Kasich remains the candidate best positioned to win a contested contest. Kasich's the only Republican who can win in November. They're citing polls that say Clinton would beat Trump, but Kasich would beat Clinton. Kasich offers Republicans and Americans a refreshing choice of hope, inclusion, and conservative reform. That's probably a jab at Trump.
Right.
The future of the Republican Party in America is at stake. Governor Kasich will not simply give up. Governor Kasich has the experience and vision and leadership abilities needed in our next president. And so this last paragraph right here, this is the stark choice that confronts Republicans between now and when a nominee is chosen in Cleveland. Governor Kasich looks forward to continuing to compete with Donald Trump in the upcoming primaries through California on June 7th.
Right, they gave us a date.
That's what I'm saying. California on June 7th. My phone says that it's May 4th still. I don't know. I'm just wondering, guys, what happened in those meetings. Obviously, this posted, around 4 o'clock Arizona time.
I never trust these guys. I never trust them. I don't, I feel like somebody's going to pop up and go, surprise, now I've decided to do this, or this is some sort of strategic move. Although I did think that his speech was crushing. There were several moments where you and I were like, are we going to cry because he's crying?
Oh, I was about to start crying. Thank God I don't have my eyelashes in right now. So I was like, I was going to ruin expensive eyelashes. We do have this question on the screen, by the way, and I do want to acknowledge all of you viewers out there who have already tweeted us. All you need to do is tweet me or Kinsey, Samia Fox 10, Kinsey Fox 10. We'll read some of your tweets. Noewu Mbase, username Donko L, saying, supporting and voting Trump should be the best option for anti-Trump GOP so he can make them enjoy the party they both own. Jonathan Reutenberg saying, as a conservative Republican, I can never support Donald Trump for president, hashtag never Trump. So this is just, I don't know. Let's see. Francesca is saying our nation has not been better under Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton would be an extension. Votes are saying it's time for change.
I have James tweeted me. James is a regular viewer. Sources saying donors or money people pulling plug on Cruz Kasich after real Donald Trump thrashing in Indiana. So,
that's an interesting point that people are just wondering, do they not have the money to continue their campaign? Because that's true. If they had the money to continue fighting this fight, they would probably keep going. I mean, one of the reasons they decided to focus on the states where they were already polling well is because they wanted to, use their resources efficiently.
Right.
I had a tweet similar to that about just the fact that they might not have the money. Dee saying, could it be that their backers backed out on their funding? Is that why Cruz and Kasich are calling it quits?
We miss Dee. We love Dee.
Yeah,
Hi, Dee. Thank you for your contribution.
And Out West AZ saying the establishment GOP Dems wanted Cruz or Hillary. They didn't care which. They'll probably vote Dem. Amanda Sue Briggs tweeting me a few hours ago, hopefully they'll consider the Libertarian third-party candidate. I mean, who knows? Will Bernie Sanders become the Democratic nominee? It's unlikely, but it's possible.
But
I know Ted Cruz has told him to run independent. I mean...
Well, I wonder what we're getting here. You know what's absolutely horrible?
What?
Because what's absolutely horrible is that Bernie Sanders is a phenomenon too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But because Trump is so bizarre, and I don't mean bizarre in a negative way. I love Donald Trump. I've thoroughly enjoyed covering him over the last year. But because he is this pop culture icon, business phenomenon, just soundbite machine, you cannot compete with this man.
You can't.
And so, although Bernie Sanders has surprisingly done amazing against somebody who is just the self-anointed candidate from the get-go, he's not getting the proper attention that he should be in the media coverage he should be now. We here on Fox 10 News Now, we stream every single Bernie Sanders rally that we get. So we give him an unusual amount of attention. But
the mainstream media
does not. And it's really kind of still it's just assumed Hillary Clinton is going to take it home, so why bother with this guy? And I feel like that's got to be so frustrating for him.
Right. I can see it being very difficult for Bernie Sanders. It's true. Donald Trump I mean, he's been famous for 3 decades, at least more than 3 decades. I mean, he is a public figure. Him announcing that he was running for president was a huge deal. And ever since he made the announcement back in June of last year, we've been talking about Donald Trump, I think, every single day on News Now since then.
Right.
And that's the reality of the situation.
What do
So,
we have here? Do we know?
I don't know what that is. I'm going to continue to monitor it. Let's go
Okay.
ahead and we can take a look at it. It's obviously a presidential candidate of sorts speaking. I think it might be a Hillary Clinton event, speaking of which. But for now, let's continue with our Kasich
Yeah, because
conversation.
I don't even see I don't even see a sign. Okay, yeah, I'll watch this. You watch this.
Okay, well, I want to watch the tweets that are coming in. Viewers, do you have anything you want to say? Mr. Griff saying Nikki Haley says she will support Trump but won't be VP. I'm not so sure she'd turn it down if offered. There's an interesting point. So you know that Nikki Haley, the governor of South Carolina,
Rallied behind Rubio.
did rally behind Rubio, and when she gave that the speech after Obama gave his State of the Union,
We felt like it was a slam at Trump.
Exactly. So it's interesting now, Mr. Griff tweeting that Nikki Haley says she will support Trump. And that's the thing. Will Mitt Romney come out and support Trump? Because he has been so vocal against Trump for the last few months.
And
so
I thought
vocal.
that was a terrible move.
His anti-Trump stance,
Yeah.
his never-Trump stance.
Right.
Then you have a Lindsey Graham who, at one point really was out there when
my
he talked
gosh.
about hating Ted Cruz, and then eventually back to Ted Cruz. And now, I mean, what? I'm just wondering, are these people going to back Donald Trump, or are they just going to be like,
You know what,
they're
I
going to
think
step
that-
back and not vote,
I was
or are they
gonna
going to
say-
help Hillary?
Well, I don't know if they can. I don't know if a lot of these people are career politicians. I don't
Right.
know if they can afford to not vote, because if word that stuff's tracked. If word gets out that you chose not to participate in
Interesting.
something so huge, I don't think you can afford not to participate. However, you can't afford to not go on Jimmy Fallon, and you can't afford to not go on all of Trevor's what is Trevor host?
The Daily Show.
The Daily Show. It's
I mean,
not
it's
as
gone
good as the
downhill
original one.
ever
It's not
since-
as good as the original Daily Show.
I
I won't
would say-
even call it the Daily Show. I call it that Trevor thing.
It was great until about 2014. Let's
Right.
leave it
So
at that.
you can't afford to just go away. And avoid Megyn Kelly and avoid. But I think with politics comes ego, and a lot of these people will not like not having that attention. I see Mike Huckabee, who I'm not saying has an ego. I think he's a good moral compass. He's got a huge moral compass. He's a good man. But Mike Huckabee already has another show with Fox. So it's like sometimes I think that these guys do it for other opportunities, even if it's not to actually become
Right.
the president of the United States, or maybe they just want exposure to get that VP position. But I think that you can afford to just go away for a little while if you don't agree with the pick. That's what's best for the party. That is what's best for the party.
Interesting. I want to go ahead and read more tweets. Actually, it's funny, Josh Ship just tweeted this because I was just thinking about the same question. Who do you think is the ideal vice president? Kasich, Condoleezza Rice, Rubio? That's a good question. Who is Donald Trump going to pick? He has come out and said he's going to go the political route. Someone with
Because he needs
enough
to.
political
He needs
experience.
to have somebody behind him that actually has experienced a lot of the things that he hasn't. I mean, he's a good leader and a businessman, but you want somebody that says, well, I have experience over here with this.
Right, exactly. And, Josh asked, is Kasich the ideal VP? Kasich would have been a good VP, but Kasich has come out before and said time and time again,
I won't do it.
Exactly. But then again, yesterday he said he was staying until June 7th. So who knows what's true and what's false? He might willingly take the vice presidential position.
think-
Condoleezza Rice, that's interesting you bring her up, Josh.
I love her. But you know what? I think that there is a very strong bond between Donald Trump and Chris Christie. And I think they both had to eat their words about each other. And there's been a lot of travel that's happened between the two of them. They're very similar in their demeanor. I mean, Trump was the first presidential candidate to come out swinging, but Chris Christie has been doing it for years.
Well, that's the thing. One of the things Ron pointed out, over the course of the last few months is Chris Christie would have had a lot more support this election cycle if Donald Trump wasn't in the mix, because he was sort of that straight
Tough
shooter.
guy. Yeah.
And a lot of people who liked that style of talk gravitated towards Trump because he was like that.
Right. So I think that Chris Christie would be a good, an ideal choice. I think that Ben Carson, not so much because of his background, but I think there's a special place for Ben Carson because again, Ben Carson, I think, was the very first former candidate to come out in support of Donald Trump, and you've
Right.
got to reward that. I think you have to reward that.
James, I want to acknowledge another tweet coming in from a viewer, James Bucko. People got frustrated pouring money down a hole with no results. Real Donald Trump was a steamroller over Cruz and Kasich. Jose of Manhattan, a good number of the anti-Trump GOP are going so far as to get ex-GOP trending rather than unify the party. Weak. Hashtag ex-GOP trending. Interesting.
I like that Jose did not want to hashtag it though.
I know, it's actually really funny. Let's,
Hey,
maybe
I
I should
see,
pull
I
up,
see Hillary coming.
pull up Jose's tweet. Let's move this out of the way.
Yellow Hillary Clinton.
All right, so that was the tweet from Jose. Kinsey, thanks for giving us your analysis. Guys, we're going to go live now to Hillary Clinton, one of the 3 remaining presidential candidates.
Very exciting.